There are FRS radios that are very affordable, super easy. And then, of course, we have our GMRS radios. And these GMRS radios can communicate with these FRS radios as long as you're on an FRS channel. FRS channel 1 can talk to FRS channel 1 on this. This has the added value that you can also transmit on GMRS frequencies in addition to the FRS frequencies. You can communicate line of sight, which is radio to radio, but you can also use something called a repeater, which is when I talk on here, it sends a signal to a machine that's very high up, and it has a very high antenna, and then that sends out a signal to everybody else who's got a GMRS radio. So I can talk to my friends. It would be inconceivable for me to talk radio to my friend Josh. But with this radio, I can talk to a repeater, and it sends my signal to everybody else in the area. So repeaters are very efficient at allowing multiple people to communicate. The other thing you're going to want to think about is your antennas. Here's a Smiley antenna, and I can see, and these are great. These are super, and you look cool too, right? You're like opening up and closing up your cool antenna, right? And then this is also a Smiley antenna. So they're the same height here, but I can't extend this one. So these are both Smiley antennas. And then I've got this Nagoya is a infamous. It's a great GMRS antenna. So, and then I always kind of put the caps on mine to protect the connectors. So you can get these little caps, and this is what we would call a BNC antenna. Most of the radios come with either an SMA male or an SMA female connection. So, and then you would connect it to like this BNC. So there's BNC. This is a BNC connector. That's a BNC male. If you have all of your radios have a BNC adapter, then you can put different types of antennas on there. And so if I unplug this, you can see in here, this is an SMA male connector. Can you guys see the little connector there? And so some of the radios have SMA male, some of them have SMA female. And what I end up doing is I get this is an SMA female because this is an SMA male. And then I get an SMA female to a BNC. I screw it in, and then all of my antennas I buy BNC, and so I can transfer them between radios. You don't have to do that. If this is an SMA male radio, you could just get an SMA female antenna and you're done with it. All right. So those are some different things to think about. When you're buying your radios, know what type of a connector your radio has. Does it have an SMA male? If it has an SMA male, then I've got two options. Either I can buy an antenna with an SMA female, or I can buy an adapter with an SMA female and then a BNC. I like to unify all of my radios, so every radio that I have has a BNC adapter on it, and all of my antennas are BNC, so I can switch out. I'm not worried about this radio's got SMA male, that one's got SMA female. I got to buy all these different antennas, so all of mine are uniform. Some ham radio operators and GMRS operators, they just connect the antenna right to the radio. Other people like this little intermediate step, so I bought this little Smiley antenna, and I just put it right on. And you just put it, and then you just lock it in, and there it is. What is this? This is a really nice radio. This is a Yaesu ham radio, but it's the same principle. I've got my radio, right? And then I've got the adapter, but this one is what they call a tiger tail, and this gives me even more distance. So I can use this antenna. It's BNC, but it's got a special adapter. If you go to Signal Stick. Now I've got a Diamond X50 on top of my roof, a big ham radio antenna. And instead of this antenna, I've got a piece of coax that goes from my antenna up there, and then the coax comes through my window, and I've got a little jumper cable, and I connect this to my antenna on my roof, and I've got more range. Because with GMRS and ham radio, height is might. So the higher your antenna, the more information you can receive, and the more information, and then the more you can reach people. So theoretically, I'm more effective talking with that jumper cable onto this radio on my antenna on my roof, which is literally right above me, than I am this. But this is such a cool system because this gives you added range. And guys, you do not have to have any sort of background in wiring or electronics. Anything. I didn't even know how to put this on when I first got my radio. I didn't even know how to turn on the radio. I didn't even know what a PTT is, which is push to talk, which is what I click on this to transmit. I didn't even know how to put this BNC on. It's all getting someone to help you. And then once you learn, then you can inspire other people to also get into emergency communications. And the wilderness protocol is where you set up what time on what channel are we going to all communicate. All right. So maybe at 9 p.m., we know we're going to, like my buddy Josh and I, we'll do this. We'll be like, okay, at 9, because every time there's a storm or a freeze, Josh and I practice. And he's in New Braunfels and I'm in San Marcos. So we'll be like, okay, at 9 o'clock, we're going to get on the New Braunfels. We have them labeled in our radio, New Braunfels #2. And so at 9 p.m., we know no matter what, if the power goes down or whatever, we're both going to jump on that repeater at that time to check in with each other. You can do this very simply with your neighbors and say, hey guys, on these FRS radios, we're going to all jump on channel 3 at 9 a.m. and check in with each other if the phone lines go down. Make a little grid and they put the time, what they're going to transmit on, maybe a primary and a secondary. They print out and they laminate it is what they do. So one thing I want to make really clear is that your communications are not completely private. Anybody with a radio can hear what you're saying. So be aware of fox hunting of your communications. So in other words, if Angela's my neighbor and we're talking we do our wilderness protocol and she's like, hey, LMC, let's go ahead and check in with each other at 9 p.m. on channel 3. And we're talking. Anybody else who's on channel 3 can also hear us talking. You can listen to other GMRS frequencies, GMRS repeaters, other people talking in your neighborhood, but you can also monitor other services like fire, EMS, airband, railroad, and municipal services. I can hear the railroad guys. I live in San Marcos and we've got tons of rail traffic. I can hear those guys all night long talking as they're rolling through San Marcos. The other thing I think is kind of neat is that you can monitor municipal services. So you can hear the road crews. If the trees go down, or if there's an ice storm, you can listen to the chatter of the municipal guys and gals. So the other form of philosophy use of local communication is you can talk to your neighbors. And you can talk to your neighbors via line of sight. So I can get out my buddy and I gave her one of these radios. I've got this radio, we can communicate. Or I also have one of these radios, right? Because I'm holding it up and she and I can talk. Or we can talk between these two, right? So that's line of sight, 2 radios communicating. But what if I want to talk to my friend Josh? Or maybe I want to talk to my friends in Canyon Lake. I need a repeater. And a repeater, so here's me. Here's the repeater, and over there is Josh. I radio into the repeater, and everybody all over from Canyon Lake to San Marcos to New Braunfels can hear me and Josh talking on that repeater. So you may even want to just monitor repeater traffic. So remember, with FRS, these cute little bubble wraps, you don't need a license. It's very short range, just a couple of blocks, and it's very low cost. Okay. And then on the other hand, you've got your GMRS. It's a $35 license fee, and it's great for short range communication and local communities, and you can communicate via repeaters.